Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. Hope you've had a great week so far. If this is the first time you're listening to this podcast, welcome. This is the number one podcast for financial empowerment, wealth creation, and really how to live your most inspiring life. And if this is the first episode you've tuned into, I do highly recommend you go back to the beginning. I know I say it every week. For those of you in the gym listening to this now, and you've been avid listeners from the beginning, you're probably thinking, I sound like a broken record, but the whole thing has been a journey. I emptied my heart and soul into a journey from when I was 21 years old to 29. It gave you all the strategies and everything I know, and I'm kind of building on that each and every week. So highly recommend it. It doesn't mean you have to stop listening to this one. And if you are brand new or if you're an avid listener, doesn't matter. This week we're in for a treat. As you know, this podcast is really about the common thread, the common theme through this podcast is being able to live your most inspired life, being your true, authentic self, waking up every day, doing things that you love to do, doing things that allow you to have inspiration and gratitude for actually spending your time on this planet. And financial freedom is a massive part of that. But it all comes from having an objective, having a purpose, having a cause way beyond yourself. And we talk about this all the time. And as you guys know, I have a very, very unique awareness of my time. I'm absolutely obsessed with time. At the time of this recording, I've probably got, 55 years left if I'm lucky. And I don't want to waste a single day of that. And I exercise that as well. I'm always making sure that I'm aware of how I spend my time, and I make the most of it. And really, the message that I promote is around being free and able to focus on meaningful work. When you're free and able to focus on your most meaningful work, you become more creative, more loving, more caring. And that's why we've got a perfect guest for you this week, which is Chloe, who's a member of my Tears of Freedom program and a listener to the program. And I'm going to let her introduce herself in a minute. But Chloe works Chloe runs a organization called the Cool Girls Club, and it's essentially around just this, helping women find their unique purpose and living their most inspired life. And we're going to be talking about that in detail. Now, although Chloe works with women, we did some stats on this podcast. We see that 38% of the listeners of this podcast are female, which is quite high considering the branding and everything. And sometimes wealth creation can be kind of a bit of a male, is seen as a male dominated thing, which we don't want it to be. We want to get this message out to everyone. And I was quite surprised that 38% were female, and that's great. But what Chloe is going to be sharing with you in this episode is universal. Chloe just helps to empower women. So for those of you who don't know Chloe, welcome onto the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Hey guys, thank you so much, Jason, for having me. That was a brilliant intro. I had goosebumps.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we get stuck into it.
Oh my God, there's so much to say about my story, but to keep it simple, in the last 2 years, I created Cool Girls Club. And Cool Girls Club was really just at the beginning was just for me to have a way to connect all my clients, because I only do coaching online, and I have clients from all around the world. And so I found it a bit sad that they didn't know each other. They didn't have that support system, that community, because community is really important. So I set up Cool Girls Club as a way for them to connect and, exchange information and support one another. And then it became just a lot bigger than that, and people started, telling me, I want to be part of the Cool Girls Club. I want to be part of the Cool Girls Club. So after a few events and a whole Instagram created just for that, basically now I'm proud to say that I am the founder of Cool Girls Club. And what I do is that I specialize in helping women getting super, super clear on what is it that they would love to do in their life, whether that's professionally or personally, because, I really tackle all aspects of life. There's no point in having a great job if you have a crappy relationship, for example, or if you're not healthy. We really want women to be inspired in all aspects of their life. And so when we find that unique purpose, that unique thing that they would really love to create in life, then I come in and I help them with implementation, which is, something that's easier said than done. But if you have a vision, that's all great. But if you don't implement it, then it means nothing, really.
Absolutely.
So that's when I come in and I kick your ass and I help you actually translate that vision into a physical manifestation. And I help women really transform their life.
Amazing. And that is why you're such a perfect guest for this podcast. You mentioned about having, there's no point having one thing if you haven't got another. And I've spoken about balance in all areas of life before. I think we find a lot of the time there's this kind of pandemic going around the world where people are searching for a purpose, right? They're searching externally for what it is that's going to make them happy, rather than looking within. And they're polarizing to one complete opposite side, then going to the other side, and they're searching for fitness and they're constantly living in the shadows of other people, when really happiness is within. So what I love about your work is you and listeners who are listening right now, what Chloe really specializes in is if you're in a situation where you're maybe 30, getting through life, 20, mid to late 20s, 30, 40, even 50, and you're getting on, and you wake up one day and you think, there's got to be more to this. I need more. I'm worth more, and this can't be it. I just know there's something else, and that is exactly what Chloe loves to work with her clients on, to get them out and really get them clear over what that is, and then help them manifest that. So before we get stuck in, Chloe's going to be sharing with us some a process and some tips that you can go and take away immediately. I like to give action steps that gives you instant progress after every episode. Before we do that, Chloe, what is going through their head? So who is the client? Who is the individual? What's going through their head? What situation are they in?
Yeah. So I mean, there's different variables, but the way that they come to this situation where, they're like, what, this can't just be it. Like, there's more to life. I know that there's more to life because I'm, in my late 20s or early 30s, and I'm bored to death, or, I'm so unhappy. I shouldn't be. I've got so many years to live, and if this is how life is, then I really don't see a point in living. And sometimes, it can get quite dark, to be honest. So, I got to that point after a massive relationship failure where I was married for 4 years and was in an abusive relationship. And when I finally got the courage to get out of it, I just went into massive depression. I was like, what is my life? What is this life? Who is Chloe? What does she want? I'm sure that there's something inside of me that I could bring out. I must have a purpose. Like, what is the meaning of my life? And so, my coming to this point was a little bit dramatic, but I've met many other women who are, professional women. They have a good job. They've been working, for about 10 years now, in the corporate world. They're well established. They're making good money, but you know what? They're alone. They don't have a relationship. They're craving for intimacy and connection with someone, not just with the man, but also in their life. They find that their friends are
social group.
They find that, yes, they do have friends, and that, but they feel like there's a connection missing. There's they feel like people don't get them, and that there's something within them that they haven't really been able to bring out to the world. And when you ask them, they don't even know what that is.
No.
So there's a feeling of, there is something more to life. There is something more to me. I'm not just meant to be sat here 9 to 5 in this office, and this is not life. Where did this become life? And the prospect of living that for another 30 years until they can retire, that is just a bullet in their head. It's just like, might as well stop right now. This is just going nowhere.
Would you say, really going back to your first point that you made earlier on about, being too far in one thing and not having balance in another, I find a lot of disempowerment comes from not having balance, right? So if there's a level of codependency in a relationship, financially, for instance, you might have some resentment there and you're going to feel disempowered. If you have some a relationship dependency, then you're going to feel disempowered. If you have a business or a job dependency, you're going to feel disempowered. And really it's about empowering all areas of your life and waking up to going, actually, there's some things that I really love doing and I can naturally empower myself, but the things that I'm not empowered in, I need to put systems in place to kind of get that raised up a little bit as well, so that I'm not, I don't feel like I'm dependent. I'm a fully empowered person.
Yeah. I think it also has to do with self-authority and being a self-led individual. And, because we've lived certain lives and we've had several experiences, or maybe we were brought up a particular way, we kind of know already, okay, there are things that Chloe loves to do. Like, I love horse riding, I love traveling, I like reading, I'm interested in this topic or that topic. But that I don't know everything about myself, and that's where women come to me, because they feel like there is this part of themselves that they haven't really yet discovered, that they know certain things that they've been able to discover along their journey, but there are things that we don't know that we would love, and so that is the mystery that I kind of take women on, is, we're going to find out what is in that heart of yours, and yes, maybe you do love your job, but maybe, you would love to be more free with your time, so you can spend more time doing something else that you would love, that you don't even know what it is yet, but you feel that longing for more freedom, for more fulfillment, and you're not sure exactly how that's gonna come along. I've always been so impressed by people who are so clear, on what is it that they really wanted to do. But let's face it, we're not all like that. And some of us need a little bit of playing around and figuring things out.
Yeah. So that I 100% agree with you. And, at the end of the day, we're all born with unique characteristics, and we're born with unique, loves and kind of things that energize us. Some of us like particular music, some of us like creative, some of us are more academic, some of us like sports, and some of us, we have these, whenever we get these kind of goosebumps when we're listening to a song, those words are inspiring to us. We don't know as a kid why that's happening. We get goosebumps on our arm when we're listening to a song as a kid. We don't know why that's happening, but that's a sign. It's something that's really bringing our inner being alive, right? And really, as we get older, the only way that we don't follow that is if our mind makes a different decision or takes a different decision. And really that's really impacted by a lot of society or externally from projections onto us, people that are telling us we should do this, should do that. And before you know it, we're living someone else's life or trying to live someone else's life,
Yep.
and then beating ourselves up because we don't actually want to do it. And we've just kind of been led down this, rather than following all those little signals and following that intuition. So you talk about purpose, awareness and creativity, this kind of process. And I always say to people, look, the first thing is the objective, the purpose. Like, how do you get back to that? And I kind of say, what would you do if you woke up now and money wasn't an issue? What would be the first thing that you did? You know, that's a great place to start. What would you be switched on to go, right, I'm going to go online, I'm going to book this or do this, or I'm going to go there and do that. Talk us a bit around your process. So how do we start? If you're in that situation, what's the first thing we do?
Yeah. So as you said, the three pillars that I use in my methods are purpose, awareness, and creativity. And so purpose is the first pillar that we deal with when I start working with someone. And I have a whole process around this, but for the listeners right now, wanting to give them something that they can walk back home with, and then they can sit down and work on this, I would invite you to take a moment, cut out everything, find yourself in a space where you're on your own and you're not going to be distracted. Put some spa music if you wanted, whatever works for you. And really come to center with yourself and really be honest. The first thing is be honest with yourself about what is it that you would love to do, not because your mom wants you to do it, because your partner wants it, because it would be good if you did it, because society would if you did that. What would you love to do for the sheer enjoyment of it, because you would love to do that?
Selfish enjoyment, right? Selfish enjoyment, not like I would love to go and feed children in Africa if that's really not your thing, right?
Yes. And it can take some time to kind of peel off the conditioning and the programming that we've been fed to this image of ourselves that we've been taught to believe that was ourselves. It's a very philosophical episode.
I love it.
But yes, and you know what? Sometimes it can take sometimes it can take one session. Sometimes it can take a couple sessions. And you know what? I'm gonna bust a myth here. Purpose is not this one thing that's in the future that once you get it, your life is sorted and now you can die in peace. Purpose is ever evolving. And so what I work with with people on is, we're gonna find that the stuff that you would really love to create in the next year. Let's start with that, because when you start with that and you give yourself permission to start with that, then it's going to evolve, and it's going to take you places that you've never even considered. And that if I had known when I started this journey 5 years ago that I would found the Cool Girls Club, and I would have clients and weekly calls and accountability structures, and I'd be on Jason podcast and I would be like, what? No, I'm so small. How can I do this? I'm teeny tiny Chloe. I just got out of a marriage. I couldn't possibly, grasp the idea and the possibility of me doing all these things. So what do? Well, we start with the next year. What would you love to do? What would you love to experience? What would you love to have? What would you love to live in the next year?
Amazing.
And if you're just 100% honest with yourself, then you will get to that little heart of yours. Really, really be honest with yourself. Let go of everything that you've been taught so far.
A lot of the time that people get in that situation is because they're going, I can't wait till I'm 18 because I can do this. When I'm 21, I can do this. When I'm 25, I'll have that. I'll be happy when I'm 25. Then I'll be happy when I'm 30 because I'll do that and this and that. And when I'm 40, I'll be earning the money I want to earn in this job. And then before you know it, they realize actually it never comes. You know, the happiness never comes when they're chasing something and not accepting that it never ends. There's always a bigger house. There's always more money. There's always more experiences that you want. And then the more experiences you want, the less experiences you want. You then want to minimalize, and it just never ends. It's always trying to kind of get you to the next thing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
One very easy question on your day-to-day basis is, what would I love? You know, what would I truly love? You know, before doing this podcast with you, I sat down and I asked myself, what would I love for this podcast? What's my intention coming from my heart? You know, not coming from, oh my God, what would I love others to hear me say? You know, is what do I want from this podcast? And it was a fun and empowering podcast. And so here I am. Yeah.
I think that's certainly coming through. I don't feel like this is, I think this is definitely coming from a place of authenticity. So in the next year is a good exercise, like, could that be like a vision board or something like that, something physical that they can see?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually run vision board workshops.
Amazing.
Once a year in January to start off the year. I mean, this year was a bit weird, but you know, you don't have to wait until 1st of January to do a vision board. You can do a vision board anytime you want. And it's a great way if you're doing it from a space of honesty and authenticity with your own self about what you'd love to create. Vision boards are really good. I have mine in my bedroom. It's the first thing and last thing that I see in the morning or at night. And you know, because it's nice to have it all in your head. But you know, having a vision board where you have all these little goals, set out and just the image, just looking at it. That's a great way of doing it. Another thing, and
also when you manifest that, it's really inspiring. I mean, and one thing I would mention on vision boards is, look, if you're trying to do a vision board without societal kind of projections, say something that you want is a Lamborghini, right? Question whether you want a Lamborghini because someone else has got the Lamborghini, or you want it because when you were younger, you were dropped off to school in some beat up car and it was a real pain point for you. And since then you've just sworn to yourself that you've got a love for cars, right? And you want to have fine cars.
Yeah, maybe that's
a great difference.
Car freak and you just, that's your passion, and there's a real appreciation for the Lamborghini, not just because I want others to look at me and
think, absolutely.
Yeah. So vision boards are great. Another one that I do, but that's more on my one-on-one coaching, is that we do a meditation where we go really, really deep into what the client would love to create. And then we extract 8 to 9 themes from that big vision that they've just established. And then for each theme, we come up with a custom-made affirmation, which I call choices, that you are going to meditate on every single morning. So, but that's a little bit more advanced. Yeah, right.
Okay. So what about the awareness then? Talk us about that.
Yeah. So the awareness, listen, you can have purpose and you can be really clear on your purpose. But if you don't have the awareness about yourself, about your ego, about your limiting beliefs, about how you do to sabotage yourself, your dysfunctional behavioral patterns, you can have all the purpose you want, but you're going to screw up at some point, because if you're not aware, your ego is going to have the power. Your limiting beliefs, it's like your programming is going to run the show, and you can have all the purpose you want. But if you're not aware of your programming and your conditioning, then you're going to sabotage yourself, and you're not even going to be conscious of it. You're just gonna, you're gonna go a different route, and then eventually you're gonna be like, wait a second, what happened here? So awareness is really, really key. And what I do is basically the second step of my program is we look at all the limiting beliefs that people have, and they're about 12. Okay. Like I'm not good enough. I'm incapable. I need to be in control. That's for the perfectionists. I don't. I'm not loved, etc., etc. And each limiting belief comes with a set of behavior, a set of thoughts and feelings. And when you read through them, you will recognize yourself, definitely.
Yeah.
And listen, we all have all these limiting beliefs at some point. They kick in different situations, but we all have one or two limiting beliefs that are the main limiting beliefs for us. Mine, for example, is I'm not allowed to be capable. So whatever it is that I want to do, my ego, in my ego, I think I'm not allowed to do it. I'm going to be told off for doing it. I'm not allowed to be powerful. I'm not allowed to speak my mind. And, that has been in my way forever, and if I had never been aware of that, it would have crashed so many of my plans. I wouldn't be here today. No. So awareness is key, guys.
Amazing. And then finally, talk us around the creativity side then.
So the creativity side, we think that being creative is like being an artist, or, that I'm not creative because I don't know how to write, or I don't know how to draw, or I'm not good at design. It has nothing to do with that. Creativity is the art of manifesting what you'd love to manifest in your life, like tangibly speaking. If you love a Lamborghini, the art of manifesting that Lamborghini in actual real life, that is creativity. It's about bringing to life your desires. So creativity requires structure. And, and one of the reasons why I love your program, Jason, is that it's just full of structure. So much structure, structure land, basically. But structure has a lot of integrity. If you don't establish certain structures in your life, you're basically not going to get to your goal. So, for example, and structures can be so many different things. Structure is your job. Structure is your gym membership. Structure is relationships and friendships that you have around you. And the structures you have in your life are going to determine the end results. Okay, they're good. The structures you have in your life are going to determine the results that you get. So if you're not getting the results that you want, you need to take a look at the structures that you have in your life. Because eventually, and this is what we get to do on one-on-one coaching with me, is that we are going to establish new structures in your life so that you reach your goal effortlessly, whether you want or not, whether you wake up in the morning feeling like achieving your goal or not feeling like achieving your goal, you have a structure. It's inevitable because the structure is there. It's strategic. So this is what creativity is about. Creativity is a method. There is a method to manifesting what you want in life. Structure is a massive part of it, but it's not the only thing. And then I got my secret sauce.
Amazing. Well, I couldn't agree with you more, and some great insights there. And I'm sure there'll be people wanting to know what your secret sauce is. But just to kind of wrap this up, I mean, the whole podcast, I mean, if you're listening to this, you'll know that it really is the essence of the entire thing. It's having a low self-worth is probably the biggest killer in living your most inspired life. And a lot of that comes from external beliefs and external projections, and not giving yourself permission to know who you truly are. I mean, I feel like a scratch record now, because I'd say this in probably every episode of this podcast, because it's so important to allow yourself to set your own objective. And once you do that, here's the beauty of it. Once you get creative, as Chloe says, and you are creative and you're manifesting that, you then can give more than you could ever give before. You know, this is the whole message behind this podcast, is because inevitably you become more creative, you become more loving, you become more caring, because you put yourself first. You're true to yourself, which means you can go out there and just, you know, give love to the world without worrying about living in someone else's shadows or, you know, putting yourself last. So
imagine having dinner with someone who's not happy with their life, and then imagine having dinner with someone who's really excited about their life. That's basically
amazing.
what you're going to put out into the world, whether you're fulfilled and inspired about your life or not. And people are going to receive that. And I always say, when you go for what you love, you give everybody else permission to go for what they love. And that's the beauty of it.
Amazing. I think that's a great message to finish the podcast. So listen, I've really enjoyed this. This is right up my street. And just before we go, let the listeners know how they can hear more from you if they want to go and connect.
Yeah, so I've got a beautiful website called coolgirlsclub.co.uk, and on that website there's loads of articles that I've written about many different topics, obviously all related to this purpose topic that we're talking about. If you're an Instagram person, I'm also on Instagram, coolgirlsclub.co.uk. And I recently started a YouTube channel where I'm going to be talking about purpose and just giving life tips, etc., etc. Also some travel, because I'm a travel freak, which is a bit tough for me in these circumstances. But if you're a YouTube person, then you can find me on coolgirlsclub.co.uk channel.
Amazing. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Chloe. Been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jason, for having me. It was really fun.
Excellent. Well, guys, go and check Chloe out, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you feel like someone could get value from this, or you know someone who just feels like they're in the position that we've just described, share this with them. You know, please just share this with a couple of people. If we can share this with a couple of people a week, we can get these messages out to an astronomical part of the population, you know. So we really want to spread the message. This is important work. And if you've enjoyed it, share it with others. And until next time, guys, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I'll see you then.
Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.